Well, let's talk about your beginnings, because you had a very interesting childhood. And this is where all this springs from, why you are a therapist today. So go right into that.
Okay. So the way that I describe it, first off, I am a therapist with a therapist. And I want to begin by saying that this is not to be utilized as a replacement for therapy. This is for conversation, humor, evolution, agree or disagree. It's just something that is going to add to our society in a good way and not in a bad way. And my childhood, like I think a lot of children's childhood in the 70s, first off, we could get spanked in school. They called it paddled, but the particular principal that I remember, and this is in Southeast Washington, D.C., the particular principal that I remember it was just that. It was a paddle. It was a wood board that is used to probably haze people in in some of their fraternities and sororities. And that was the attitude adjuster for kids like me that went to school. So I was one of those kids. And so let's also say there will be curse words, which I call adding pepper and seasoning to our food, and a lot of dark humor, because that's just me. But I remember my childhood as this: turning 5 years old in December in the 70s and getting jumped by a gang of other 5-year-olds. Like, that's one of my first childhood memories.
Wow.
And when I look back on it now, I understand why I received that ass whooping, even though I didn't earn it. And so here's the backstory as I understand it. So we're also going to say that the stories that I tell are my truth. It's not debatable. It's the truth of my experience.
Right.
And having partaken and continuing to partake in Ancestry.com, oh, baby, does the roux get thicker and thicker? And it does. So this is what I've learned now as a person who's more than half of 100. I got my ass kicked at 5 because the amazingly curious individual who gave birth to me, yes, I call them my birther, she could never read a room. She could never read a room. And so she started this tradition, or probably really carried on the tradition, because she was a mother who didn't want to have kids. I mean, her Yelp reviews still continue to be a unanimous thumbs down.
So let's stop right there. Let's talk about your mother. So
birther.
Your birther. You do not have a relationship. I'm going to say with your mother. You say with your birther.
No, I don't want you to say my mother.
No, I'm just for the audience, so they'll know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Tracking. So I would say if she were my mother, we would have a relationship. So we do have a relationship, but it's toxic. So I went no contact. Check this out, y'all. I started running away at 4 years old. True story. True story. So that tells you something, okay? And I didn't know all this fancy language at that time, but I went no contact, we will say, at the age of 16 years old.
Okay.
Because my life literally depended upon it. How about that?
So you say no contact. That means that you didn't have any dealings with your birther.
Right. I tried not to. However, her being the very so spicy, presenting as a sociopathic narcissist as she does, she has stalked me. She has stalked me for many, many years. So So what do you do when you have a mom like that?
So a lot of people listening to this right now, please don't be offended when I'm asking you these questions.
Oh, me?
You're not going to be offended because we want to.
No. Are you telling them not to be offended or me?
No. I'm saying to you because I have to ask you questions to bring out certain things about this conversation, because when people are listening to you, they may be saying, well, it sounds like she still needs a therapist.
And I have one. So, zing.
Right.
How about that?
So you are a therapist that has a therapist because you're dealing with this situation with your birth mother who gave birth to you. You do not have a relationship. She
left me at the hospital. Like, let's be clear.
Okay, come on.
Okay. Now, need I say more?
So she left you at the hospital.
Period.
Now tell me about that. I mean, how did somebody come and claim you?
Well, my grandma says that she claimed me, but it's sort of like a folk's tale, and you know how it is. So here's this. I love these kinds of conversations because people look at me like they're odd, like I'm odd.
Yeah.
When in truth, they know they have some skeletons in their closet too. So baby, let's talk. So we have these, we were raised to be seen and not heard, right? Mm-hmm. Now imagine that. Think about that for a minute. To be seen and not heard. Well, why would a child try to speak? Maybe because they're hungry, they're thirsty, maybe because something is going on that's funny, maybe because there might be a safety issue. But when you have a parent that says you are to be seen, not heard, and that was that, like it was not negotiable, you were raised with someone who was terroristic to a degree, you learn how to be seen and not heard. In fact, you try to disappear.
Tell me about the terroristic part. What do you mean by that? Well, how did she terrorize you? What did she do?
So I'm not going to give you specifics because this has been an entire lifetime. But how about this? What about leaving your baby at the hospital? Ain't that sort of kind of like low-key terroristic?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Doesn't that establish the relationship out the gate? Not because you were at another facility seeking care. No. You gave birth. And you went someplace else. So in my mind, having been a person who's given birth, this is what I believe to be true. I believe that there was postpartum, probably psychosis, postpartum, probably depression. There were some postpartum and some prepartum things that weren't addressed.
Maybe there was an extreme that what she was dealing with had to be an extreme case of that.
Right. But I have to agree. I have to agree because it's just not normal, even though it has been normalized. It's not normal to carry something or someone for a long time and not have an affinity or an affection towards it. So if you are rejecting it, what typically happens, which is why here I am, dun, 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 what typically happens is we blame the victim. I don't like to be described as a victim, but that's just the language of society. So I call myself a mark because I'm not a victim.
How old was she when she had you?
I don't know. I can't. She was old enough to know better. She was dang near 30. How about that?
So how did she recover? So when your grandmother claimed you, how did she recover from that she left you at the hospital?
Baby, she never did. Didn't I tell you I was raised by a whole entire terrorist? Baby, it just got worse and worse and worse. Like the other day, today, I saw a commercial, which I don't typically look at TV, but I saw a commercial. They were advertising for safety drop-off spots for babies. And they had created, you know what? I saw it on Instagram or something. And they had created, and I'm like, thank God for these people. Now, some other people are like going off, it's a conspiracy, blah, 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 blah. But Chad, I ain't been left at the hospital before. I have on record that I was. So the commercial was a safety space, like a vault that babies can be put in. And when you open it, documentation comes out for therapy, et cetera, like this orange packet. that's supposed to have a lot of resources, and when you close it, the baby's locked in. Like you can't second guess it. And then as soon as the vault, that's what I'm going to call it, the safety vault opens, because it reminds you of that, right?
Yeah.
911 is alerted. As soon as the vault is closed, 911 is alerted again. And I just thought, wow, how amazing. And then there's parts of me, like, I have grace for the person who gave birth to me.
Yes.
I'm not here to beat her up. I'm just not, because that's easy to do. I'm here to show other people that no matter what happens to you, like, we aren't responsible. We may not be responsible for some of the things that have happened to us. Specifically, we're not responsible, I'm going to say, for things that happen to us from birth, right? Mm-hmm. Up until adulthood, which is debatable, right? So that's age 18, age 25 is when the brain stops developing, okay?
Yeah.
But we are responsible for our healing. Yeah. So if someone says to me, well, first off, people don't typically say to me, I need a therapist, because I'm pretty sane. My therapists and everybody make sure of that. And I want to correct something. I don't go to my therapist to handle the rejection, isolation, abuse, neglect, like, just how we could just go on, from the person who gave birth to me. That's not why I go to therapy. I go to therapy to be a better human. I go to therapy for a plethora of reasons. And one of them, when you have a parent that has issues, which I'm just going to call them, like, I like to describe them as challenges and or opportunities, well, it sort of sets you up to be rejected by other adults. So here you are, just having been born, like, you were not involved in the oochie coochie ow wow, like, you weren't involved in the bumping uglies, like, you was just minding your business wherever the spirits of babies who haven't come to this planet yet are, right? You just sitting up there chilling, minding your own business. And then you come down here like you report for duty, and baby, you get left at the hospital. Now, here's this. See, that's a part of family trauma and generational trauma, because my grandma used to tell me that story, like, that story is just as right as rain. It's just as right as rain. Mm. And that's how many times I've been told it. But then one day, I think as I got maybe wiser and stuff, I really sat down and thought about that thing. I'm like, well, damn. Say you're not an invited guest without saying you are an invited guest, baby, when you get left at the hospital. And on top of that, my grandmother, who has since transitioned, not only that, she told me, I guess she was telling me how special I was, but it didn't make me feel special. She also told me that I had some complications or something when I was born, and I had been placed in an incubator. And I wasn't really born in a hospital. I was born in a doctor's office, which was common for this part of the country where I came from. And so I was in the incubator, and here's the other part of the story she would tell me, and you almost died. Mm. She'd say, baby, I came there and you were as red as a beet. Mm. She said the doctor's grandsons, bless their sweet hearts, had turned up the incubator on me, BJ.
Wow.
And she said, if I hadn't come when I did, baby, you was in there cooking. Mm. Like, that's the story she used to tell me my whole life. So I just be like, well, dang. Now, guess what? I didn't get no family history. Never do I know, have I ever learned, why did I come? Was I early? Was I sickly? Like, nobody's. Now, I know that I was sickly because I've heard it from other relatives. Well, you stayed at my house for a while, but it was just too much and I couldn't handle it. So I had more rejection on the resume of that being my life before I was dang 90 days old.
So,
okay?
So Andrea, let's talk about Andrea. Okay. Let me do it.
You're good.
So Andrea, let me ask you about when your mother tried to kill you. Mm. How did you recover from that?
Well, I went. So I didn't want. So you just want to get all my business real early and not even give me a drink first. Damn, BJ. What the fuck? So here's this. This is what I'm going to say with this, and we're going to leave this as a nice little cliffhanger. I realized that at 3 or 4, like since age 3 or 4, I have been working to not need my mother.
Wow.
So when I would go, so first off, before we even talk about attempted homicide, let's talk about the fact that A, I was left at the doctor's office, which was a hospital. B, I was passed around to other people. Finally, I guess, made it home. The person who is my biological father, he got full, I guess, guardianship, custody, I don't know, of me and my 2 siblings. I am one of 3. I am the youngest. And this was all in the 70s, the early 70s, when as Black folks, we just were given the right to vote in 68. As women, we were just given the right to not only vote, but to purchase a home, to sign business contracts and stuff. So let's go back there before we pre-ejaculate. Why? Because this is what's relevant. A Black man, went to the legal system that had just started acknowledging him in the early 70s to get full guardianship and custody over, guess what? His 3 daughters. And it was granted. So let that resonate. So how many things do you think must have been present for someone in the 70s to remove your parental rights as a Black mother? Don't play with me today.
Wow.
So how did I get to a place where she felt it necessary to end my existence, and still does to present day? Well, again, I started learning how not to need my mom at 3 years old. We're talking 36 months on the planet. Now, that's when I became aware of it. When it started, I don't know. So her resentment that is projected towards me, because see, I'm not going to take on her is she feels probably like is a righteous rage, because I was everything that she said I wasn't. This being who gave birth to me didn't teach me how to be successful in school, didn't teach me about my body, how to wash my lady purse, my underarms, didn't teach me about my menses. My menstruation story is horrible, deplorable. And I did not discover that violence against me was not normal until I was in physical education in the 9th grade, with my back and my body covered with bruises, that I just changed my clothes because I thought everybody got the snot beaten out of them. And I had a friend that just texted me earlier this week who touched a bruise and asked me, was I okay? And I said, of course I'm okay. Like, what? And she was like, well, you have these bruises on you. No shit, Sherlock, because that was my response. I've been cursing since I was 3 too. And then I learned in that moment, everybody else obviously doesn't get the snot beaten out of them like this. And I guess this is why I need to cover some things up. Now, at this time, I also had a job because I snuck and became gainfully employed at the age of 14. Do you want to ask why?
Please tell us.
Because I used to wear too small shoes to the degree that my toes would be balled up in my shoes and my feet would go numb. And then the pain, and anybody who's experienced it, they know. And the pain, whenever your toes that have been crunched in a pair of shoes for freaking hours, because I'm talking about school day, and you're walking funny, when that sensation starts to come back to your feet, that crap hurts. So I was a master at gathering other people's hand-me-downs. See, yet again, figuring out how not to need the person who gave birth to me, whose name on my birth certificate says mother. But when you look up the definition of mother, she was none of that. So calling her my birther is actually something that one of my spiritual mentors said to me in 2019, because some of the stories that I was telling this other individual who also happens to be a mother, she said, no mother would ever do that. And I have to agree.
Is your mother still living?
Oh, she is. Oh, she is. Oh, she is. And still raising hell, but not as much as she used to. But guess what? It doesn't impact me because it's not about me. It never was.
So, Andrea, is there any room for reconciliation or atonement between you and her?
Well, first off, I don't hold any grudge against her on most days. In fact, I pray for her dang near every day. So I don't need to atone. I'm good. And as far as her, I am available, but not from a space of abuse. We're fresh out of fucks on that.
I think we could put a pin in this episode because we got so much more to reveal and unravel about your journey of healing.
And we're not just going to focus on my journey. Let me pause. We're going to have other people come in, and I'm not going to tell y'all all my life because guess what? Trauma porn is a thing. I'm going to give you the hot spots in the general GPS so that you can have an idea. But what we're not going to do is re-traumatize people. We're not going to glorify this. I don't need anybody to try to get atonement for me because I'm good. I'm blessed. As a child, I was told, and we're going to wrap up right here if you don't mind. I was told you ain't going to be shit.
How old were you?
And it was just, I knew it just like I knew my name. So that was always the message from the person who gave birth to me. However, I've been a school teacher. I'm a therapist who is a macro, micro clinician. I'm an expert in addressing trauma so that you can recognize and create space within yourself to experience life in all of its beauty. I'm a master at that. I'm a yoga teacher. I run half marathons. So how my non-childhood, because I didn't have one, how that was, that's not the truth of who I am. That was just some experiences that still happen to spill out today because generational trauma stays in our family lineage for up to 5 generations. So I am the zygote. I am my version of Harriet Tubman for my family to heal the oppression. So it's my affirmation that you see the beauty in this and don't dwell on the pain because I've already addressed that and I address it when it comes up. But that's not the truth of my experience. The truth of my experience is, though I came from murderers, documented, I've never murdered. My problem-solving skills include diplomacy and positive human regard. That's the miracle. I could have been a street hoe. I could have been addicted to sex. I could have had a cocaine addiction, a crack addiction. I could have had any kind of addiction. I could have failed out of high school, almost did, had to go to summer school once because I ran away so much. But yet I have literally dang near finished everything that I did. And I was the first person in my family lineage of me and my 3 sisters, including my mom and my dad, to graduate college. My mother didn't even graduate high school, but I did.
And get a master's
And I
degree.
graduated college and a master's degree and went and got a PhD, all while thinking that I was insane. Because, of course, you'll think that you're insane if your parent rejects you. You think inherently that something is wrong with you, but it's not if you were a child. And that's why I'm here, to shake some shit up.
That was a great close.
Thank you.
Wow.